things aren't always as they appear. A few weeks ago, these journalists were given the prestige of ringing in the new year in Times Square. For Filipina Maria Ressa, right there, it looks like such a happy honor. She'd been labeled one of Time magazine's Persons of the Year, a guardian of the truth. A big deal. Only she says the moment she found out nearly made her sick to her stomach. That's because of who else was chosen. The murdered Jamal Khashoggi, the team from the Capital Gazette whose journalists were gunned down, and the Reuters reporters jailed in Myanmar.
I was the only one of the four that was both alive and free. And so I was thinking, is this where we're supposed to go? Is this predicting? Is it? I went through lots of emotions and feelings, and that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. Then I was like, what does that mean? Is it going to be positive or negative? Will it bring more attacks? Will it help us? Nice to see you.
She may seem like a journalistic rock star to look at the way those in Toronto greeted her recently at a talk about truth in a library, of course. But back home in the Philippines, she's in trouble, could even go to jail.
Okay, what do you got?
The news organization she runs, Rappler, is in the sights of Rodrigo Duterte's government for its persistent reporting of Duterte's bloody drug war, trying to hold authority to account for the thousands of people killed with impunity.
But since you are a fake news outlet, then I am not surprised that your articles are also fake.
There's that fake news slogan. In the Philippines, those words carry dangerous weight. Duterte tried to close Rappler. His supporters, egged on by troll farms, have been relentlessly attacking Ressa online, trying to start a movement to jail her.
I get so many threats on social media. I have no idea when it crosses into the real world.
The jail threat is real. She's facing 5 arrest warrants, charges of tax evasion, a possible 15-year sentence.
That tax evasion charge, the foundation of it is that Rappler is a dealer in securities. That's a direct quote, a dealer in securities.
But you're a news organization.
Absolutely. Dealers in securities are like stock brokerage agencies. We're not selling stocks to consumers, but they're treating it that way, and they're saying that because we sold stocks, that we need to pay these taxes that come from being a dealer in securities. The whole thing is to try to stop our political coverage, but I again hope that there are enough men and women inside the Philippine government and the judiciary system that will stand on principles, because allowing this, weaponizing the rule of law, weaponizing law against perceived enemies, against journalists, this is a massive crack in a pillar of democracy.
From November 2017 to 2018, the number of countries whose democracies rolled back went up, more than double.
Ressa thinks a lot about risks to democracies. That's the essence of her speaking engagements in Canada. This conversation we had on stage in Toronto, partly about Facebook's role in this. She identified early how disinformation networks used Facebook, finding parallels in, of all places, how terror networks use social media. She showed Mark Zuckerberg what was happening and how and who was behind it, how what was happening in the Philippines could happen around the world. She wanted him to shut them down, and at first, he did nothing.
Lots of people dream about walking up to Mark Zuckerberg and saying, hey, what are you doing? You actually did. You got in his face.
I went to Facebook in August of 2016 because we got the data from July and told them, we are where you're going to be. We're the cautionary tale. We're the canary in the coal mine. I said, Mark, you should come. You have to come to the Philippines because Facebook is so powerful that almost 97% of Filipinos on the internet are on Facebook. And he frowned. And I was like, why are you frowning? And he said, well, Maria, where are the other 3%? And we all laughed around the table.
Kind of a sad laugh, though, I'm guessing.
Her message didn't sink in. And as Rappler kept reporting, the attacks got worse, not just on Ressa, but all Filipino journalists who dared try to hold Duterte to account. These are just some of them.
Have you been threatened with violence?
Yes.
Have you been threatened with death?
Yes.
Has the violence been described to you?
Yeah, blow my head off or bury me alive.
She kept pushing Facebook to understand the damage done to democracies when societies are divided by lies and hate. Somehow, she thinks it now understands.
A man named Nathaniel Gleicher was hired by Facebook. He used to head counterterrorism for the White House. And to look at these networks as through counterterrorism lenses is the first step, I think, to taking them down. And they've built a team. They're building teams now to do that. You know, it's enlightened self-interest. If they don't do this, people will drop them. They got pummeled last year, and I hope they've learned their lesson.
Maybe. Are there lessons for Canada in an election year? Her research shows the early signs of Russian disinformation networks being interested in the conversation here.
Canada, a melting pot of different cultures. When this kind of emotion is unleashed, it's hard to let rational minds prevail.
Do you think Canada is ripe for the taking by these disinformation networks?
I think you shouldn't be complacent. This stuff on social media pushes populism to an nth degree because it fuels your fears and it pounds on fracture lines of societies. When you see that happening, who's behind it? Where is it coming from? If it's social media driven, you should be able to find a network behind that.
She's still researching and sharing the tools for how to do it, but time is ticking. Maria Ressa had to get court permission to come here and knows after her short trip, she's back into the fire in the Philippines. Why not just never go back? She has American citizenship.
But I'm also a Filipino, and this is why we became journalists in the first place, right? And when you're a journalist in good times, it's easy to live by those principles, by the mission. This is the time when it matters. So I have no choice.